Indy 500 coverage is brought to you by the members of the DL 500 Club. Click the link in the description, join today, and get exclusive content.
Okay, welcome to a very sunny day at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And if the weatherman's right, which he isn't always right, we're filming this on Monday, not Tuesday, because we're expecting it to rain on Tuesday. But this is one of my favorite videos of the year, the garage tour for the Indianapolis 500. This is kind of a good teaser, a good way to talk through the garage, everybody here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And great for those of you who have not been able to come out to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway this month, because you get to walk around with me and have me give you a garage tour. So this is where the transporters or haulers, if you're one of the folks coming over to check out Kyle Larson, would always park every year, traditional spot to park. They would then move the cars, equipment, and crew over here, and we've got the garage area. Built in 1980, late 1985 for the 1986 Indianapolis 500. I've said that a few times, but I figure I'll give you that information for those of you who don't know that. So here's tech. This is where the cars are scrutinized for the race and qualifying. This is where the room of doom, so to speak. If you run afoul of the rules, chances are you ran afoul of the rules in that room. This is another staging area. Oftentimes you'll see wings and other different parts that are being scrutinized there. And we've got the first garage of the day, Renus VK Ask ROI sponsorship on the side pod. That's a change, because that car's been blank for most of the season, but at least for now, Renus VK has a sponsor on the side of his car. Renus is always really fast here at the Speedway. On the front row the last 2 years in a row, I think, and I think he's been in the Fast 6 every single year he's been here. So a very fast qualifier. Renus's problem is always consistency in the race. So we'll see if he can correct that problem. He might win an Indianapolis 500. A rookie here this year in number 33 is Christian Rasmussen, who is the Indy Next champion from last year. Interesting looking livery here. Quite barren, I would say, but we love to see that Menards yellow on there. Looks a lot like, if you remember 2019, Simon Pagenaud. If you go further back, you think about Tony Stewart or Gary Bentonhausen as drivers with that chartreuse color on there. So a bit of a change, because Rasmussen has been in the 20 most of the year, but for the Indianapolis 500, it's Ed Carpenter in the 20. Graduate of Butler University. His rookie year at the 500 at the Speedway was 2004. So appropriately for car 20 years at the Speedway as a driver for Ed Carpenter. Interesting livery. I like the Carpenter liveries this year. Some people don't, which is fine. It actually kind of reminds me of the old skull, the old skull livery. My cameraman Kyle's looking at me. I can't imagine why he's looking at me on that sense. Now, there's all sorts of cool equipment in the garage area. I have to say, I don't know whose bike this is, but I'm gonna give them huge props and credit on the color. Really big fan of the color. I can't imagine why. And we'll walk down here, more garages for Ed Carpenter. Lots of garage space these days, unfortunately, with only 40, I wish there were 40 cars, 34 cars. Here's Chevy and Honda. This is a bunch of engines. So these are crates that the engines come in. Kind of cool to see all of those fresh bullets ready to go for the Indianapolis 500. Andretti Global, and I said that right this time, because a lot of us still say Andretti Autosport. Interesting, it almost looks like they have less garage space this year, or they just don't have signs up yet. But we've got 27 Kyle Kirkwood, which is actually a little bit different than we've seen in the past here. And Andretti's actually using a different garage setup than we've seen in the past, turning the cars to the side. Oftentimes they drive the car straight into the garage. And we were kind of curious, because for the GP we had seen other teams that had previously used that garage setup driving their cars straight in, and Andretti's got them to the side. I guess we'll see if that's a consistency. Yes, it is, as I'm looking at Marcus Ericsson's car on the other side of the garage. A lot of the team meetings tend to happen, traditionally anyway, for Andretti, so that's just a generic Andretti Global Garage. I always love to say this every year during this garage tour, but the side of these garages are where the big fuel drums used to be. for the Indianapolis 500, the big silver fuel drums. They don't use those anymore, unfortunately, but always a cool tradition. You can see Dale Coyne Racing over here. We'll double back to them here in just a second. We're going to take a look at the Delaware Life number 28 of Marcus Ericsson. New team for Marcus this year, the Andretti Global team, after some success with Ganassi. Expect that Marcus is going to have a good show. The Andretti Global team really showed a lot of speed. You can see actually the aero screen going on the car right now. That's kind of a cool process to see, something that we rarely see. And you can see how just tight that fit is. Perfect for oval, high-speed oval racing. But yeah, I think Marcus is going to have a good run. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't bring this up. You can see the backup car for the number 28. Teams typically enter 2 different chassis into the Indianapolis 500, but the rule is you can see a rear end and a front, but you do not have an engine because the rules do not allow engines in backup cars anymore. Marco Andretti's back this year. He's the only Indy 500 only entry for Andretti Global this year. Typically we see them at 5 cars. This year it's only 4. Maypai is the new sponsor on this machine. Pretty handsome looking car, I have to say. Marco, pole sitter 2 or 3 years ago here at the Speedway. The pace hasn't been there recently, but Craig Hampson's joined the engineering squad on that team, so it should be pretty good for Andretti Global this year. You can see some suspension bits. I think that's a rear end, a rear bell housing there. We've got Colton Herta's backup chassis sitting in the garage. Now, interesting thing that we need to bring up last year, because it was a factor. If a team does have to go to a backup car, we saw this with Ray Hall. They wanted to change to their backup cars for qualifying last year, but once you go through tech for qualifying the first time, you're not allowed to change to a backup car. Callum Ilott did that on Friday and was allowed to change to a backup car. Here's Colton Herta's garage. You saw his backup car, but clearly the 26 team is happy, or perhaps they're hiding something, which, you know, that's fair if that's true. Colton was definitely fast last year at the Speedway. 3 generic Andretti garages, so they just didn't have the signs up on the other side. So the teams will use all of this space for engineering briefings and speaking after the practice sessions, doing debriefs and engineering and all of that good stuff. Certainly Andretti Autosport, one of the pioneers of multi-car teams working together in harmony. Tom Blomqvist, one of the rookies here at the Speedway. Huge success in IMSA for Tom Blomqvist. And, we'll see how he does here on the oval track.
Jeff Vlida and Billy Vincent.
Jeff Vlida, Billy Vincent, some great new additions. Billy's going to be a huge addition to Meyer Shank Racing, working on the 06. We'll blur his face and I'll bleep it. But yeah, Tom Blomqvist, great success in IMSA, making his first attempt at the Indianapolis 500 for Meyer Shank Racing. Got 2 great teammates as well. Felix Rosenquist, who was so quick here last year. I had actually picked Felix to win the race. Unfortunately, of course, he was involved in that big crash, which ended up with a tire going over the stands and all that. Interesting to see Mike Shank Racing picked up Mike's Hard Lemonade, which is kind of cool. So you'll see that on the 60 and the 06 cars. Always good to see big recognizable sponsors. That's a backup car for Felix, and here's the primary chassis that Billy and the crew are working on right now. Of course, that's a reunion from Arrow McLaren with Billy Vincent and Felix Rosenquist. Billy ran strategy for him last year. And Elio Castroneves, I mean, of course, the drive for 5. The quest continues. Indy only this year, but Elio Castroneves really is, you look at how Elio won the 500 in 21, it was very similar to this situation. Coming in as an Indy-only team, bringing Indy-only personnel in, and it worked out very well because Elio Castroneves ended up winning the Indianapolis 500. So, he's an owner as well, part owner in Meyer Shank Racing this year. And so you look at AJ Foyt breaking the 4-time Winners Club as an owner driver. Maybe Elio will break into the 5-time Winners Club as an owner driver. Let's wander over here a bit because Elio Castroneves, his garage is closed, so we won't get a great look at his car until it goes out on the racetrack. But let's take a look at another, from one former winner to another former winner. In fact, the 2021 to 2020 Indy 500 winner. Yes, indeed, that race actually did happen, and Takuma Sato won it. Two-time winner here at the Speedway. His car actually isn't in the garage at all. So 75 this year, returning to Rahal Letterman Lanigan for the first time since 2021. Certainly Rahal struggled in practice and qualifying last year, but it seems like every team Takuma goes to tends to up in performance. So I think this is going to be a great partnership and a successful one. Takuma always fast here at the Speedway. Mada is the, or is it Amada? I don't know. There's the sponsor on the side. And you can see a much better render of that car up here on the garage. Next to Takuma Sato, full-time driver for Rahal Letterman Lanigan, Christian Lundgaard here in the Hy-Vee sponsorship. He got his breakthrough IndyCar win last year at Toronto. Oval's typically been a struggle, unfortunately, for Christian Lundgaard, but certainly at some point you got to think it's going to click. He's very highly touted in IndyCar. A lot of people actually looking for his services in the future. We got the primary chassis and the backup chassis, or primary chassis, backup chassis here you can see for Christian Lundgaard. It's always cool to see how many chassis are actually on the premises. Most of the fleet of DW12 chassis for sure. Pietro Fittipaldi, this is a really cool story. First Indy 500 for Pietro since 2021. 5-hour energy sponsorship on this machine for Rahal Letterman Lanigan. This is a very recognizable looking car. You kind of remember Clint Boyer from NASCAR. Cool to see. You can actually get a better look at some of the bodywork for this car, what this will actually look like down here. Yeah, I love it. You know, kind of like with Mike's Hard Lemonade, you want something on these race cars that can appeal to a greater audience, some B2C sponsorships, and the fact that you can buy 5-hour energy in any gas station, it's cool that it's on a car here at the Indianapolis 500. So Graham Rahal obviously was a huge story last year at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as Pietro Fittipaldi's car begins to get a fire up. First one of the month for that machine. But yeah, Graham Rahal bumped from the field, added to the field as a replacement driver for the injured Stephen Wilson. You know, we know the story, and obviously Rahal Letterman Lanigan has done a lot over the offseason to try to correct the issues that they had last year. Bringing in Takuma Sato is huge for this team, I think. 1999 Indy 500 winner Kenny Breck has also joined this team as in an advisory role. So I think the Rahal team is going to definitely take a step up. You can see a bit of a different livery this year for Graham Rahal, very blue with a little bit of orange trim. And here's the primary chassis for this car. Don't actually see a backup. Oh, no, there's the backup. The backup's hidden in the garage. It's the road course car from the GP, still in the Fifth Third Bank colors. A couple other Rahal garages here. Again, kind of as we've spoken about, you know, there's not as many entries, so many teams get garages just for their wheels and tires. And so that's what you're seeing here. Of course, there's the three owners up on the board there. You have Mike Lanigan, David Letterman, and Bobby Rahal. Here's an extra Honda garage. Not much going on in there. They're storing some office chairs, so that's great to see. Glad Honda has a space for their office chairs. Here's a garage for IndyCar. More miscellaneous things here. And we head up to Dale Coyne Racing. 2-car entry this year. At some points in the recent past, they had as many as 4, but this year just 2. Car 18, which we're walking up to right now with Nolan Siegel. This has been a revolving door at this team for both cars really throughout the year. Here's the backup chassis. They're working on the primary behind the wall there. Nolan Siegel from actually currently racing in Indy Next by Firestone. He was a race winner, points leader until well into the season last year, so definitely a hot prospect. Catherine Legg in car number 51, she's returning to the Indianapolis 500 this year. She, of course, raced for Rahal last year and was the only Rahal car not in the slow 4 last year. And here's the backup car. Luca Giotto still on the side of that, but you can tell many teams use their road course car as their backup car here. So, you know, it's definitely a disadvantage if you have to go to a backup car at the Indianapolis 500 for any reason, because that car is just not going to be optimized the same way an oval car would be. Simcoe's Hollinger Racing 2-car effort here. cars 78 and 77. The difference, of course, this year is that pairing with Augustine Canapino in car number 78, we've got 77 this year, Romain Grosjean in that car. New livery for this car this year. Haven't seen it yet. Ironically enough, that's going to be revealed in about 6 minutes real time, but certainly a little bit different of a livery than we've expected in the past. Not as much orange on it. There's Augustine Canapino's empty garage there, the Argentinian superstar. Everybody loves Augustine, online at least. And then Romain Grosjean. He has the dubious distinction of, in 2 Indy 500 starts, crashing in turn 2 both years. And you can see they actually really cool. They put the Phoenix, and I guess Augustine Canapino's nickname is the Titan.
I just want to point out.
I don't know what that's all about.
I just want to point out that they put Titan and Phoenix on the rear wings of these cars too.
Oh, okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Try to get a shot of that. Yeah, they did. Phoenix and Titan. So that's neat. You know what? From a marketing perspective, I kind of like that. Good eye there, Kyle. As we keep going here, here's the primary chassis for Romain Grosjean. I don't know where the 78 ended up, but yeah, there's the primary for Romain Grosjean. Yeah, definitely Romain is looking for better success than he had the last 2 years at the Speedway racing for Andretti. Here's Ganassi's tire garages. You guys are well aware of those at this point if you've been watching these videos for the last couple of years. Safety Clean, where I believe they take oil to be recycled, which is cool, I guess, if you're into that sort of stuff. More Ganassi garage. You would think Ganassi, if you didn't know any better, you would think Ganassi's entered about 15 cars for this year's Indianapolis 500 with how much garage space they have, but it is only 5. But yeah, you can see just more wheels and tires. I mean, I guess when you have a 5-car entry here at the Speedway, like Chip Ganassi does, you think about it, you are technically, if each car has a backup car, you are entering 10 cars in the field, but obviously they're not all being used. Here's Dreyer Reinbold Racing with Cusick Motorsports back again. There's Connor Daly hanging out in the garage right there. So this is Dreyer Reinbold's garage. Venture HR is the sponsor for Ryan Hunter-Reay. That was just revealed a couple of minutes ago, real time. And so yeah, Ryan Hunter-Reay had a primary black car for most of the year last year. Eventually ended up with Root Insurance on the side of the car. That sponsors Hike to Ganassi this year. There's Connor. Look at that guy. Hey, we're doing a garage tour. Give us a quick word.
I got a Chevy meeting right now, but we got a bunch of meat on this car and a bunch of dots on my car, so that's all you can ask for, right?
There we go.
Yeah, I'm excited. The Polka Dot Chevrolet is going to be great in the rain tomorrow. You know what is the funniest thing? Obviously, it's been the longest time I've ever not been in a race car, so of course day one is going to be raining. It wouldn't be a Connor Daly career arc if it wasn't going to rain on the first day where I could finally get back in a race car, huh? It just makes sense.
Well, you're going to be seen on Tuesday because this video comes out on Tuesday, so we'll at least get Polka Dot seen somewhere, right?
Cool, yeah. I think I'm going to do a YouTube video every day after each day.
Now hang on a second.
Hang
on a second. Now you're impeding on my progress here.
Well, I'll shout out your channel too. Be like, hey, if you also want to find out real news, go to the David Land YouTube channel. Not fake.
Let's get that on Reddit.
Not fake news.
There we go. On Reddit and on record. Thanks.
Everyone hates me on Reddit, so don't go on.
Oh, join the club. Get to your meeting. Get on with your getting. Look at that. Look, he's got the Monster Energy. He's got the Boomer Juice. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay. Yeah. Well, Connor talked about Polka Dot. Here's his.
I'm gonna plug his YouTube channel.
Oh yeah. Go to Connor's YouTube channel. Check it out. See, Kyle's on the ball. I thought he plugged himself pretty well, but
It's like Connor Daly 22 or something like that.
Connor Daly 22. You guys know where to find Connor. You guys know how to search his name. Yes, Polka Dot. Another pink and white car. But it's got purple on it, so I got to give them credit for that. Dreyer Reinbold Racing, what a great addition to this series. I love the Indy 500 only teams. They're so nice to have around, and I think they should be protected. I mean, you probably will have already seen the clip of Dennis Reinbold talking about the charter agreement and what they kind of think of it, and they do such a good job. They prepare 2 really fast cars every year. I think they're deserving of some consideration for if there is going to be protection, that certainly they're one of the teams that deserve it. Let's swing around here and let's take a look at a contender every year, Chip Ganassi Racing. 5-car entry this year, a couple of rookies, a couple of veterans, and a lot of good shots at winning the Indianapolis 500. It's actually kind of hard to believe. Here's Marcus Armstrong, who actually, ironically enough, doesn't have a garage sign. I don't know why that is, but yeah, that's car 11, Ridgeline Lubricants, the sponsor. Primary number 11 car. That's Armstrong's run a lot of IndyCar races, but has not run the 500, and thus we consider him a rookie. And we're going to head down to Alex Palou now. Different colors this year with DHL sponsorship, and they're now traditional, very colorful rainbow livery. Certainly not going to be hard to spot this one on track, that's for sure. Alex Palou has been so quick the last 3 years at the Indianapolis 500. Frankly, should have won the race, I think, at this point. But bad luck that is none of his doing has taken him out of contention. So I think Alex is going to have a good year this year, but that's just a prediction. Oh, yes, and Kyle's looking at me because here on the rear wing, you might wonder who... they changed that. They changed that. Okay. So Kyle has betrayed.
It's funny that they put that on the sign.
So on the sign, I guess we'll say this. It was a different name on the rear wing, but on the sign, you'll see Dalsey, Halburn, Lynn. Those are the initials of DHL, and those are the founders of DHL. So kind of neat. And here's the more you know. And speaking of the more you know, they have a rainbow, and so does Alex Palou. Look at that. The more you know. And Root Insurance, as I mentioned, a sponsor that jumped over from Dry and Reinbold last year. Scott Dixon. I mean, what else can you say? The man has done everything he can do in IndyCar racing, including winning the Indy 500 in 2008. And a lot of people compare him to Mario Andretti. And unfortunately, he's kind of gotten the bad luck of Mario Andretti. I mean, it's crazy to think about how many weird and different ways Scott Dixon has managed to lose the Indianapolis 500 in the last few years. But, you got to think a win is coming at some point for Scott, and someday it's going to happen. There's 2 chassis here, primary and a backup, as most of the big teams have.
Here's my big note. The Dixon cars and the Palou cars have like a matte finish to them, and the other Ganassi cars don't.
So that's interesting that you brought that up, because my understanding, and I see what you're talking about. That's very interesting. That is, so typically the theory goes that at a super speedway you slick a car off for less drag. So why are they running with more drag? I wonder if they have. Now here's my theory on this. Have they decided in the wind tunnel that they can run with less wickers on the car if they have matte finish? I wonder. I guess we'll find that out. But that was a very good note and a very good catch from our cameraman, Kyle. We'll go back to talking about drivers here for a second, but that's really cool. Linus Lundqvist, another a rookie who's run a lot of IndyCar races. Indy Lights champion 2 years ago. Impressed so much Chip Ganassi that he was offered a ride, and here he is. I think this is a driver that will surprise people by the end of the month. We'll see what a prediction that turns into. But I think you typically see Swedes come here, and most Swedes are pretty fast. You want speed? Get a Swede. First driver ever from the Cayman Islands. I'm almost certainly 100% confident in reporting that fact. Kiffin Simpson, graduate of the Indy Next by Firestone Championship last year, in car number 4 this year with Journey Rewards on the side. Kiffin's been really good this year. Actually, I've been impressed with his taking to IndyCar racing. He's been under the tutelage of Chris Wheeler, who's a very respected member of the paddock. So it makes sense that he's really been taking it slow and doing, going through his motions really well. I think Kiffin, as long as he keeps it between the walls, I think he'll be all right in the 500, though I don't necessarily expect him to be up front competing for a win. Team Penske, oh boy, yes, certainly a lot of things being said around this team this month, and unfortunately it's not because they won the race last year. Obviously we all know the controversy with the push to pass, and the good news is that that's not really a factor here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Push to pass is not used at the Indianapolis 500. Here's the 19 wins, and there's a space for a 20th Roger Penske really wants two things in this world, I would say, is a 20th Indianapolis 500 and a win in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. I think there's a good chance of both of those things happening this year. Of course, we know about the suspensions on the pit boxes of the 12 and the 3 and the 2 car. The 3 not affected by those suspensions. Will Power, winner in 2018 here at the Speedway. Bit of a different livery this year with the white on the Verizon car, but Will Power hasn't won since 2022, which is kind of hard to believe. But I think it's coming. You know, I think at some point Will Power is going to break through and win another race, and certainly an Indy 500 win wouldn't surprise me at all. Scott McLaughlin, again, his thirsty threes were unaffected by the suspensions. The Pennzoil car. Now it's interesting, if you took Scott McLaughlin's results from specifically the month of May, whether it's the GP or the 500, you would see that he would be one of the top point scorers in IndyCar. But for whatever reason, Scott struggled in May, and particularly in the Indianapolis 500. So certainly Scott McLaughlin will be looking to shake that moniker off of himself. And of course, here we go, Joseph Newgarden. You guys all know all of the hubbub and the story involving the push to pass scandal going into the month. We don't need to, go through that again and talk about all of that. But the facts of the matter are, he's the defending winner of this Indianapolis 500. There's a whole bunch of there's the 78 car. Not much livery to speak about on that one, but yep. There's the Chevy-powered number 78. So, Joseph Newgarden, fastest in the open test here in April, although that wasn't much representative running. But over 227 miles an hour without, even with a draft, with the race boost is pretty impressive. I think Newgarden's still got a great chance to win a second Indianapolis 500. I mean, he was so fast here last year, was in the right position at the right time to win this race. And certainly, I kind of look at it like Helio Castroneves in 2009. He had a lot of controversy around him with a tax evasion charge, and it's a little bit different, obviously, but I think that Joseph is eventually going to thrive under the pressure. I don't think it's something that's going to affect him too badly. So, we'll see. Obviously, they've got a week and a half of practice to figure it out. So, Joseph Newgarden, defending winner of the Indianapolis 500. Okay, going from Penske to a Penske partner team. AJ Foyt Racing, yes indeed. The 14 and the 41 are partnered with Team Penske, or perhaps here at the Speedway we should say Penske's partnered with them. AJ Foyt Racing was so quick here last year. Santino Ferrucci really should have won the race. His car actually isn't in the garage, at least that I can see yet. At least the backup car is. The primary, who knows where it is. But yeah, Santino Ferrucci was so quick here last year, and I expect that Santino is going to be a driver that can contend for victory again. 41 car this year is, or the second AJ Foyt car was the 55 last year, but Stingray Robb has joined the team. A lot of people say a lot of things about Stingray, but I think with the Michael Cannon setup, he'll be in the Fast 12. That's my prediction, at least right now, at least in qualifying. But I think Stingray for sure is going to be a contender for victory for sure. Santino, not Stingray. Did I say Stingray?
You did.
Oh boy. Well, you know what? Hey, if that ends up coming true, which it could, there's 33 drivers in the field, and any one of them could win the race, right? It could happen. But I think Santino is a much more likely bet. Here's some rear attenuators there, in case you back into the wall. And here's the last team. I did do this intentionally so that we ended up with a certain somebody as the last garage. But Aaron McLaren, they're so fast here every year, and yet have yet to win the 500. In fact, it's kind of funny because Pato O'Ward has won a race this year and has not led a lap, with the disqualification of Joseph Newgarden at St. Pete. So we got a primary car, backup car for Pato. Again, with the big teams, you'll see primary and backup cars in the garage being prepared. 6 car announced this morning. People pretended like it was a surprise, but it wasn't. That Callum Ilott is driving this car. He tested for this team here in April. So why it was a surprise, why anyone thought Tony Kanaan was going to be in this car, I don't know. But here you go. Callum this is the only other race Callum will be racing in the IndyCar Series this year. From Indy 500 on, it will be Théo Pourchaire. Alexander Rossi, 2016 winner of the Indianapolis 500. Kind of a similar livery last year to what the 6 car with Felix Rosenqvist ran last year. Rossi's always at the front, especially here at the Indianapolis 500. And I kind of expect that that will be the same. You got a backup car and then a primary car on that one. And then, of course, we have to end it where a lot of people probably were watching the entire video to see. Kyle Larson, car number 17, HendrickCars.com. Hendrick partnership with this team. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, including Robin Miller, waited a long time to see this. Unfortunately, Robin didn't get to see it, and we appreciate that they're making sure that we can't see their dampers. I know how that game goes, but yeah, Kyle Larson for sure. We love seeing NASCAR guys come over here and do the double. It's going to be a hell of a job to run 1,100 miles in one day, but. I think Kyle Larson, if anybody can do it, he's the one who's up to it. And so a huge and exciting storyline on this month. And the fact that Rick Hendrick is involved in it as well is super, super cool. So that's all the garages. That's 34 cars, 34 teams, 34 drivers, 34 stories. And, you know, while I think it's going to get rained out tomorrow, I'm looking forward to covering when we actually do get out on the racetrack, probably on Wednesday. But again, I'm trying really, really hard to jinx that. So maybe we'll do some running tomorrow. But thank you guys so much for watching. This has been David Land on YouTube, and we'll see you in the next video.